Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Live. And tonight, for every Thursday, what we did for our Crown Rules series is we went over the book Crown Rules 1 and Crown Rules 2. And Crown Rules 3 actually will be in publication real soon. And tonight we have a very, very interesting show. A show that I know I'm very excited about as well, the young ladies. Tonight's show is a glimpse of how black women love. The six ladies that are our guests tonight were six of the ladies that were interviewed for the book. So it allows myself and the audience to get an early glimpse of who these beautiful six faces are and to know what they're about and, to know everything that you need to know. We ask that if anybody is in the chat, to ask questions, make them feel very comfortable. I hope I'm be able to make them feel comfortable being on my platform for the first time. So good evening, ladies.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Good
All
evening.
right,
Good
everything
evening.
good?
Good evening.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
So,
Great.
Let's talk to the author first, Miss Dozier.
Yes.
Let's talk about Crown Rules 3, Queen, How Black Women Love.
Yes.
Let's talk about the genesis of the book and deciding the book and these six young ladies.
Absolutely. So, Crown Rules is part of a series, a collective of books. And the one book that really inspired this current one was Crown Rules 2 King, How Black Men Love, where I had an opportunity to interview Black men between the ages of 35 to 85 to try to understand their perspective on love and intimacy and relationships. And, one of the things that we learned is that, love and your understanding of love develops and matures throughout the lifespan. And so we published that book. We did a series on that, and you suggested that we look at the other side of the coin, how Black women love. And there was no way that I could have imagined that these ladies here, as well as the other ladies that I interviewed, would be able to transform my life in such a way by sharing their experience of love, intimacy, and relationships with such honesty and boldness and courage and just unadulterated, unfiltered truth. It was just amazing. And, anyone who is fortunate enough to read these words will really connect with themselves. So
I know,
that's
I
where,
know,
that's where it came from.
I know. One of the things, and we conversate practically every day. And I would always call, and you'd be like, "Well, I have an interview at 7:30. Call me around 8:30," and I will call, and you would be emotionally wiped out. Not in a bad way, but you'd be like, I just had an interview, and it was like excitement and like breathtaking. Um, could you speak to that experience? Like, did you realize that you would, after talking to all of the ladies as well as these six ladies on the panel, how that made you feel? Like, did it give you like a self of renewal, like a sense of renewal?
Absolutely. I'm going to speak for myself, and I know the ladies on our panel tonight will address this in some form or another. But I think as a woman, particularly as a Black woman, there are certain ways that we're expected to have conversation. And sometimes when we have those conversations, we may touch on the surface of what we're feeling or what we're thinking and, what we're experiencing and what we hope for. the beauty of this book is that it's very guided. Both myself and the person that I'm speaking with or that I'm interviewing, we know our purpose. We know our purpose is to speak to how Black women love, and that the questions are aligned to that. And it's a different level of conversation. It's a different level of conversation. And it was an honesty that I don't feel that I have ever experienced in relationship with my sisters. So I think that's what my takeaway was from it. And then to, be able to tap in maybe some of the things that I have been thinking or feeling myself, but wasn't able to express, and to hear someone else express it, it validated what I feel. So I didn't feel alone.
So,
Mm-hmm.
when unfortunately, Julia, not or fortunately, we're in a conversation with 6 other people tonight.
Yes,
It
we
ain't
are.
usually like our phone calls when I'm coming home from work and I need somebody to vent to about some stuff. And you're just always there for me with that ear.
Yes,
So introduce these 6 distinguished young ladies.
with pleasure. So, Crown Rules explores love across the lifespan. And so the women that have on our panel tonight are dynamic women that range in age between the early 40s to 50s. And so we have Marsha with us this evening. Her chapter is amazing. I'm trying not to give away too much. We have
Marsha,
Tamara.
Marsha, you could talk to us, Marsha.
Yes, please, Marsha, speak to us.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We
Good
also have
evening.
Tamara.
Hello.
We have Lee.
Hi, everyone.
We have Joanne.
Hello, everyone.
We have Edwina.
Good evening, everybody.
And we have Nick.
Good evening.
Oh, so let me see. I really can't say who I would want to talk to first or last. Anybody that would be willing to go first. The first one, feet to the fire. We'll just have a conversation like I told you guys behind the scene. It doesn't even have to be quote unquote formal. It's just we're just having a talk to make you young ladies feel comfortable. Like I said to Julia privately and earlier, this is not easy for anybody to talk about sometimes. And you guys have allowed yourselves to be interviewed for this book, so it will be out to the world as well as being on the show. So let's try Nick first. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm great. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how, if you don't mind. And I know it's very inappropriate, they say, for men to ask women their ages. If you just say no comment, I will respect that.
I'm in my 40s.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about yourself. Let me ask you the question first. Then,
Okay.
how do you love?
I like to say I love with my entire heart. I love hard. I don't know how to half love.
You don't know how to. You don't know how to half love.
No.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
I believe that as far as love, whether it's a motherly love, fatherly love, romantic love, etc. I feel like it's supposed to be natural. It's supposed to come from your heart. It's supposed to be unfiltered, because that, to me, that's love in its purest form.
Okay. I have a couple questions, but I'm gonna stay with you for a second, Nick.
Okay.
So since how did you feel when Julia contacted you, or you contacted Julia and said you wanted to be part of this project? And she explained the project to you. Did you have to think about it? Did you pray on it? Did you say all right from the door, or what?
To tell you the truth, I think I reached out to Julia We so Julia and I are both artists. And we met actually at an artist showcase, and I was just so taken by her and her mother. Um, they're amazing women. So when the opportunity presented itself, I definitely wanted to be a part of it.
So since you did the interview and you had a chance to answer the questions and then contemplate them again in your head, has your view of love changed since then?
No, it has not.
Interesting.
No, not at all.
Do you
My
do you answered my last question in the beginning about your love having no limits,
hmm
or you don't know how to give love halfway.
I won't say it doesn't have limits. I just feel like it should be unfiltered. I feel like it should be pure.
Okay. So you're a poet, huh?
Yes.
Mm, Interesting. Interesting. So Lee, what's going on over there?
Hey, I was waiting because I'm like I love Nick's unicorns and rainbow theories, but honey, love can have some limits.
So
Okay.
Lee, you dedicated your presence on the show tonight to what young man?
Oh, my son, my SUN, my 10-year-old boy that thinks his mother's just gonna become a superstar after this broadcast, but that's how he feels about everything I do. That's why he's my favorite fan. I mean, his daddy's all right too, you know. We've been together for 20 years, but my boy is my boy.
So let me ask you, Lee, how do you view love? How do you love?
Um, how do I love? In my opinion, I love honestly and imperfectly, because being honest, everyone comes with, if you've been through some things in life, everyone comes with a past, everyone comes with a history, everyone comes with some form, some level of trauma. And it's a matter of meeting that individual that appreciates you, your good and your bad, that understands you, tries not to, acknowledges triggers, acknowledges past harm, past trauma, and tries not to repeat those things. It's an effort that has to be made because, again, like I said, um, I've been with my husband for 20 years, and I look back and I said, when I first met him, he just turned 24 years old. And now I'm like, that is so young. No wonder I was ready to kill him the first 7 years. Because he literally had so much more growth to do. But I saw, he saw the potential in me, and I saw the potential in him, in spite of and because of our young, ignorant selves that were getting to know each other. But there were boundaries that we didn't cross, that it could grow. But to say that it
Mm.
was just so easy and pure and perfect in the beginning, no. We had to get to know each other. We had to learn, our ins and outs, and we had to, work at forming this union and wanted to continue to work at forming this union. So,
Well, I definitely want to say that congratulations for being married 20 years, um,
thank you.
for sticking by each other, for learning to love each other unselfishly,
Right.
because we need that more in our community. So let me ask you, being that you were married for 20 years, going
And
through.
I'm going to, just in case any one of my family members is listening, we have been together for 20 years, married actually 18 years, because he did have, a 2-year deadline to, crap or get off the pot, because there's not too much needing to know. We need to know about each other after 2 years. If we don't know each other by then, I mean, what are we doing? So we were together for 20 years and just celebrated 18 years married, September 20th, the day after my son's birthday.
Wow. Definitely congratulations and happy belated anniversary. Let,
Congratulations.
let me ask you, Lee, when you first, how did you decide when that you wanted to be interviewed for the book?
Well, Julia and I, we've known each other for a while, and we worked at the same job for many years, and it's like we've always, even though we see each other a lot in passing and stuff, we always had this little eye to eye connection. So when we came across each other on a mutual friend's Facebook page, I hopped on there because I had a nickname for her because she was an assistant director, so I used to call her AD Doja. So I was like, AD Doja, is that you? And she said yes, and we got to talking and stuff like that. And I can go when the conversation is good and interesting, and I think I have something to offer. I can go. Joanne knows that too from our E-train ride, getting stuck on the subway them years traveling New York. So, and we had some interesting conversations, and we threw ideas at each other, and we laughed and we fussed and we did that and the other. So it just felt kind of like a little reminiscent of my 1199 days, the conversation. So it was a no brainer for me.
Great, great. Marsha, everything good up there?
Everything's great.
So tell me, young lady, um,
Me?
yeah, you.
Okay.
Don't start. No, no. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Marsha.
What lane do you want me to go from?
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
57.
Oh, you're seasoned.
All right now, ma'am.
You're
All right.
seasoned. You're seasoned. And you said that quick, too.
I'm not ashamed of it.
Exactly. You get to a certain age where I'm like,
I'm not ashamed of it.
So, Marsha, let me ask you, how do you love?
I love in truth and empathy. Come on with the follow-up
Interesting.
question.
No. That ain't the final question. I got a bunch of stuff I want to ask you. So
So
tell me.
let me expound on the empathy, right?
Okay.
Okay. People have gone through life, they've had some struggles, they've had some rejections, they've had whatever, right? People want to love people based off of a fairy tale. I want to love a person where they are, because
Whew.
why do we throw people away when they didn't start that way? And so that person is rejected because somebody else did something wrong. How about I come up alongside of you, see how we could connect? Let's see how we could just be free, right? Let's heal and go from there.
You left me speechless for a second there.
If I
That's
may
right.
interject, Quentin,
Yes, no, definitely.
in her chapter in the book, Mara lays out the steps for that. She lays out the steps for that. So if anybody is missing that or would like to understand how to do that, you want to get into Marsha's chapter and you want to sit with it for a moment. It's not something that you want to read and move on to the next thing. You want to sit with it for a moment and feel it, feel what she's saying.
She left me speechless for a second.
Because you know why? We live in this reality TV environment. We live in this, I gotta showcase and do all of that. You know, when I thought about like tonight, I'm like, oh, let me go put on a blouse. No, I'm gonna be me. I wear t-shirts and sneakers. Okay. If you see me
I'm
in
sitting here with a broke foot.
ID, ask for my ID if you see me in shoes. Okay. But the point is that people have been hurt, whether intentional or unintentional. I'll give an example. All of the people in the 70s and 80s that had AIDS, right? Where are they in this boat of love? They're rejected. They're lepers. Is that fair? Some of the people were mishandled. It was unintentional. They were abused. Are we supposed to throw those people away? We're not
So-
supposed to. We're not supposed to throw people away.
So my question to you about, does your love have limits? Your love don't got no limits.
My love, the only limit I have is 2: lying and being deceitful. I can take you for whoever you are. Just be real with me. Because let me tell you this, I've watched you. So I already know before you even reveal yourself because I watch you.
If any other young ladies would like to interject or affirm what she's saying, feel free to just come right in.
You know, they have a saying, when a woman asks or somebody asks you, they already know the answer,
There you go.
right? So if I pick
That's
up,
right.
you know, I don't say anything because I want you to keep revealing yourself,
hmm
right? I want you to keep revealing yourself, and I'm okay. And then you just get put in a different category, and eventually you will walk your own self out.
There
Exactly.
you go.
Tamara, you've been affirming practically everything that Marsha said.
Yes.
What explain to that? Speak to that. And I want you, for anybody in the chat to know, Tamara is very supportive of the show. She's been in the comments. This is our first time seeing each other on camera. Well, she's seen me, but this is the first time I've seen her on camera. And I really, the show and myself really appreciate your support.
Oh, you're welcome.
So
And
you've
thank
been
you for having me.
no problem. I mean, you young ladies, like I said, the courage to be vulnerable should never be taken for granted with anyone. So I say that you've been affirming a lot of the stuff that Marsha was saying. If you don't mind, how old are you?
I'm 45, I think. 45, 40. I'm 46.
And the reason why in the chat I'm asking the young ladies their age is because one of my favorite phrases is a person of a certain age. I believe that a person of a certain age from experience, not just age, should move a certain way. We look at our mortality as fleeting, so we start valuing our values change over a period of time, and we start looking at things like Marsha. We sit back and look at the whole picture. So Tamara, what were you shaking your head like? She hitting it, she nailing it. Explain to them.
I was trying to find the word or the words to express what she stated. And when she said empathetic, and it's like, okay, yes, that's it. And I also want to piggyback on the fact that she said about how we see, I guess, maybe reality TV, or we envision this picture perfect relationship or fairy tales and unicorns and things of that nature. And I would even go a step further, like I say for myself, and I shared with Julie too, that I felt like I met my soulmate, right? And so I'll also go on record and say that I'm divorced, and the person I divorced or is not the soulmate. And I think because of the influence from, I would say, my peers and the influence from his peers, that because I'm a professional individual, I'm a very ambitious female. And he's ambitious, but he's not as ambitious as I am. And so I think a lot of my peers envision me being with someone who I guess has that same ambition or professional or that demeanor. And whereas his friends may look at him being with someone of their caliber. However, don't get me wrong, I look at those things, but I don't look at those things as others look at those things. And so for me, it's how he treats me, or how he has treated me, that spoke volumes to me. Like it was more than, I would say, what he was wearing, how much his clothes cost, what his hair looked like, because this guy had dreadlocks. So of course it's like, no, that he doesn't look like the type of person you should be with. Perhaps again, they're looking at my profession. But for me personally, I'm looking at the heart. Okay. I'm looking at the heart. And so
you're answering the question right now.
okay.
No, you good. You good. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead. Go ahead and answer the question.
So your love is valued by him.
Well, by him, I would say even through this journey of the divorce and the breakups and the dating and all that, I think I've started to value self-love. And you know how some people go in a relationship and the relationship dissolves or it ends. And so we tend to want to, I say as women, we tend to beat ourselves up. But you're like, okay, what could we have done differently to make that relationship work? And, you know, and that's how it was in the beginning, like when my marriage didn't last. It was a thing of like, you know, we're dealing with rejection. We're dealing with, you know, what could I have done differently? And then that person, the marriage dissolved because of infidelity. And then he ended up remarrying. And so then you're looking like, okay, well, what's wrong with me? So in my case, I got busy trying to fix what I thought was the issue in the marriage. But as life has, I guess, as time progressed, I've learned to value myself, self-love. Okay. Self-love. And so each time, let's say I date someone and it doesn't work out, I'm going to reflect on that whole setup, that situation. What did I do? What could I have worked on? What could he have worked on? And I think I may have mentioned that I'm going to give the person ownership of their issues. I'm not going to take on all of the issues that were in that relationship. He's going to have, I'm going to let him take ownership of his issues. I'm going to take ownership of my issues. And, you know, it wasn't a thing of, did I not try hard? Did I not work hard to make that relationship work? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I won't say I'm a workaholic. Like I said, I'm very ambitious. And so what I've learned is, well, I guess like that person is going to have to recognize that. That is something that I would say, I don't want to suppress it. It's just a natural thing for me. And so does he have to be as ambitious as I am? Do we have to build an empire? No, because building an empire may be something I want to do, but that may not be the thing that he wants to do. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't negate or belittle what he wants to accomplish. Because again, our goals, they're not the same in a sense. Like, okay, like again, I want to build an empire, but he may not want to go into business. Okay. He may be good being a clown. I don't know, you know, but he's a darn good clown, you know? So, and it's a thing of respect. I'm respecting what his thing is, and he's respecting what my thing is. And we learn to work together and not dismiss each other because he's not as ambitious as me. He's not starting a business, or I'm not out there trying to be a clown.
It's interesting that you said that, because in my opinion, that speaks to what Marsha was talking about, the fairy tale that we have created in our head about, definitely when it comes to relationships, what we want everything to be this picture perfect situation.
Can I add something to that?
Yes. Marsha, I have a question for you. Just give me 1 second till I get back to you. But say what you wanted to say, Marsha, real quick.
I think, you know, with the fairy tale, we also we love beneath ourselves, right? Because we don't think that we are worth it. Mm-hmm. We don't think that we're beautiful enough. We don't think that we're smart enough, or we don't have enough money. We always belittle ourselves with. We don't need encouragement to belittle ourselves because we got that down pat.
That's true.
Right? And it takes courage for us to stand up and say, you know what, I'm worth it, I'm worthy, and I have something to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
So when we get out of our own head and stop looking at all of the distractions, we'll get a little bit of clarity, and we'll be able to do. And love doesn't have to be lust. It doesn't have to be in a relationship. Love is love. Love is friendship.
Yes.
love is encouraging someone, because if you can't have that basic foundation, you're not good for anything but a temporary temporary fling or whatever.
Yes.
I want to
So-
piggyback on that with self-love.
Ho.
This is Joanne.
See, I have to message Joanne. I said it behind the scenes. I have to message you because you're wearing yellow, and that's my mom's favorite color. So,
She was a beautiful woman. I'm sure we got it. We got
and
it.
if anybody believes in astrology, she was a Virgo, so y'all know how that goes.
Okay. Capricorn is still on the line. We're still,
So Joanne, I apologize for you and Edwina that you guys are basically
Oh, we're good.
last to the conversation. Everybody feel free to just take the conversation wherever you guys choose to go. Before I start using some questions that's in the chat, but Joanne, you wanted to say something?
Self-love. I can only speak for myself. The little problems that you have when you're growing into love, thinking it's love. Oh, I want to go everywhere where he's at. You forget about your dreams. You forget about your goals. And you may have not even thought you had any goals because they may have convinced you your goal is his goals. So self-love. So one of the questions is, how do I love? I love me first. I make sure I don't compromise me, because we do a lot of compromising when we go into these relationships and we forget who we are.
Yes.
And there's a couple of things we learn love also from where we see it from, where we grow, where we learn it from our parents. Some of us didn't have traditional parents to know about love.
Exactly.
So you got to go through a couple of, hits and knocks on the head, to get it. But you will get it with patience. So patience has to be in there. Wisdom has to be in there. That little birdie that's telling you, just relax for a moment. See what this guy is about. We have to, as women, love ourselves. So we can't beat ourselves up because, I'm in my 50s. I'm not married. I don't have a boyfriend. And I'm okay because I'm still learning to love me fully.
Hello.
So when I open those
Yes.
doors of being all whole, I'm hoping that man upstairs will say, okay, here's this whole woman. I'm going to bring a whole man to you. So I just, Marsha, I just had
Hello.
And Joanne, it's funny you say that because again, on this journey, like I say, after the divorce, and I would say even after the other relationship or what have you, it's like each relationship, when it dissolves, I always take something and I learn and I get, it's like it pushes me further into self-love.
Yeah.
And so, and by me being able to focus more on self-love, when that person does come, I'm able to, I would say, discern their issues quicker than I had before previously. And so, and I give an example of this gentleman that I don't even know I'm not even gonna say we were dating. Okay. And so I flew in and this gentleman offered to pick me up from the airport. And I said, sure. So the airport, I'm in Texas, has the toll booths or whatever. So I offered to pay the $3 for the toll. It became a thing of, oh, you're flashing your money in front of me. And it's like, okay, so you're insecure with an ambitious woman. So that's something you need to work on. This is not going to work because I already see that's going to be an issue,
Well, it could be insecurity or just a user.
There you go.
Because I was a people pleaser.
Same here.
That would be something I would do. Oh, well, let me give you some money for gas. Let me treat you. Then you know that as time goes, you ain't never paying for anything. Using so we have to now have those antennas up to recognize.
I was on my own. I was on my own, like very young. So my comfort was financial. I worked very early. I had to deal with someone that um made money, and honestly at that time I didn't care how. If they made money, they made money. When I met my husband, however, and everyone used to say, oh, that's not the type of dude that you would date. That's not, because he didn't have any money. He worked security, and everyone was down in my little security guard, right? But 20 years later, because again, I tell you about the age, 20 years later, it's like if someone is good to you, or how they earn a living, all of that can change. How they treat
Mhm.
you, how they see you. Because I have another thing. I was in one bad relationship in my early 20s, and I always felt it was because he was short and had a Napoleon complex. So I used to look for the biggest thing I could find to start dating, because I would say, you know what I'm saying, they wouldn't challenge me as much. They wouldn't be so short and angry all the time, right? And then, but then, long story short, my husband, no pun intended, is not tall at all, but he makes me feel the most secure that I have ever felt. So, there's a joke that people say, you know what I'm saying? Women can pray all the time, like, God sent, why, I asked you to send me a husband. When are you going to send me a husband? And God said, I did. And you turned him away because you said he was wearing Reebok. Like, you can change his shoes. If somebody has a good heart and it's something that you can build on, like, you can't just automatically dismiss them.
Society thinks should be. Well, you can miss out on something good.
And I
True.
have one more comment about self-love. Self-love
Uh-oh, I
starts with
lost him again.
knowing who you are and identifying your traits. What are your pain points? What makes you happy? And your own truth. That is the beginning of self-love. People think self-love is all about the spas and the massages and all of that stuff like that. That's good.
That helps now.
Yes,
That's true.
it
It
does
helps.
help. It helps. But if you
Oh,
don't know
wait.
who
And
you are and what
mhm.
makes you tick,
Right.
you're just going to be spinning
Yes.
your wheels and
And
unhappy.
I might add, and can I add one more thing? I have been, my husband, what he's done, like I said, in his growth, in his years, has allowed me to be in a position that no one thought I would be in by dealing with him. I've been able to stay home and raise my children. I've been able to do the things that were important to me because I saw things that people didn't necessarily see back then. So,
So Edwina, I apologize. You haven't said
No, no, no,
anything.
no.
I
I'm
could,
okay.
I know how you are. If I don't ask you, you won't say nothing. You'll sit there and be
I'm
quiet.
enjoying the conversation. I can't wait to read this book and read everybody's chapter. So it's
Yes.
absolutely fine.
So let
you
me let
should.
me let me ask you
Mhm.
guys a question because someone asked a question. I don't want to act like I didn't see it. Um, and it was mainly towards Marsha, but I want all you guys to answer the question. And Julia, you can answer the question as well. Um, protecting your peace.
Mm.
When did you guys realize at what age you had to protect your peace at all costs?
I learned that in my 30s, in all honesty.
Um,
Yeah,
I
I
was.
learned it very fast, very, very quick. And
I was 9.
Wow.
I
That's
think
it,
as a
Joanne.
I was.
I think the one of the important things that you'll find throughout every story in this book is that as Black women, if we're fortunate, we have the opportunity to be little girls. But the honest truth is that we're expected to be women at a very young age,
Absolutely.
to think like women, to conduct ourselves like women, to move like women at a very young age. And part of what that involves is giving of ourselves. Like we're not necessarily taught how to establish limits or to establish boundaries. And it's only through our experiences that we come to that place of understanding what peace is and then understanding the steps to take to protect it. And so for any young women out there who are struggling with that, the stories from each of the women here and some of our women who are in their 20s in the book will help you to understand how to do that without having to learn it, if that makes sense.
I have a bunch of questions, you guys. Someone asked, how significant do you ladies think it is to be equally yoked in a relationship?
I think it's very important. Me personally.
I think that's kind of, okay, go ahead, Jojo, finish.
I feel it's important. I mean, I consider myself a Christian. You know, I go to church. It's kind of hard if you have someone that's out in the club 24/7, you know, spending money, gambling, and you're trying to build a home, a foundation, healing, learning. It's kind of hard. You have to come in somewhere where you have something of equal to build on, because you can't build if one's here and one's the other way. You know, I think it's very important in a relationship.
I think equally yoked isn't really just pertaining to, you know, and for younger women, I know when I was younger, I thought it meant to be equally yoked in status or where they were at a point in their life. But equally yoked is a state of mind. Are you moving in the same direction? Because we're all going to make organic movements to the left, to the right, avoiding different things, overcoming different obstacles. But in order to end up in the same place at the end of all of that, you have to at least be in the same mind space. That's a lot of times as women. I didn't get a chance to answer the other question that you were saying, but my point is that I have a tendency to believe that I love now organically, whereas before I loved from a state of expectancy. So it was kind of like I did everything I was expected to until I was in my 40s. And that was only coming to a turn with where I came to realize it all culminated in me saying, I can't live for everybody else. I can't do for everybody else. As much as I love them and as much as I see them going through things and as much as I'd like to sacrifice for that love, I used to think that love was sacrifice. But now I think it's coming from an organic place of understanding yourself and then deciding what of yourself you can afford to give to another person. And any person that can't understand that, whether they're your spouse or friend or any other relationship, then that is not really something that's going to mesh. You're going to be fighting with that thing for the rest of your life when you can organically find something that is on the same wavelength and vibration and state of mind as you are. And that's when you come into an equally yoked. It's not about the money.
Well, let me
Right.
I love that answer, Dwayna. And I know that it's some questions in the chat that I'm going to get to, you guys. I don't want you guys to think I'm not answering the young ladies your questions. But I want to ask you guys a question. And I know that, listen, I know the format of the book. I kind of know how Julia asks questions to get the answers, to get you guys to answer the questions authentically and with a core. A lot of times, and Joanne speaks about this point of making yourself whole. A lot of times we consider love, our definition of love, with being with someone. When did you guys realize, like, that's not love? Love is loving yourself, regardless whether you're single, married, like Tamara said, divorced, whether you got kids or whatever. When did you know what love truly was? Anybody
Can I
can
answer first?
Absolutely.
Okay. So for me, I started learning when I got divorced. I know most people, like, oh, divorce is bad. Divorce is bad. I actually grew up because of divorce. I actually tapped into self-love, you know, God love. I grew as a person through my divorce, and I mean, like if I didn't have the divorce, not that I, wish that on anybody, but for me personally, I felt like I'm finding myself because of the divorce. Um, like I said, it used to be a thing of, okay, I got to hurry up and find someone to be with because then that'd be like the whole package. Now it's like, if I do, great. If I don't, I'm still great, And so, yeah, I evolved, or I got the message after the divorce. If that makes sense.
Anyone else?
Well, with me, with there being different types of love, different types of love relationships, it happened for me at different times in my life. Like I said, self love came to me at a very early age. I spoke on it in the book. My mom passed away when I was 4 years old, and my dad, he was a single West Indian father trying to make it in New York, and he was rough, and he was the best dad he can be, but not necessarily a good mate. And the things that used to go on at his house, as much as I loved my dad because he treated me like a princess, I had to separate myself because of other things that was exposed. So I basically had to, um, like, I put that guard up, even starting with him at 9. I could not love him, unconditionally and wholeheartedly all the time because there were times that I couldn't even be around him as much as I love him because in order to save myself, in order to have my own sense of peace. So that's when I started recognizing that, you know what, regardless of what, it may come a time in your life where at any point in time you have to remember you have to put you first. You have to put you first. I have not met anyone, regardless of what anyone says, unless they, not saying that it's not possible, but I really haven't met anyone wholeheartedly just don't put themselves first. I really haven't. And they may not even realize it. Even when they say, "Oh, I give wholeheartedly. I give, all of me and everything." That comes from a place of where did that come from? If you're not getting that in return, where did that come from? Where's the motive? Where's the purpose? So I've never really experienced that in my life. It's always I've seen that, you have to put you first because nobody really, really ever puts you first. Except maybe your parents, you know, and then after a certain time, they may not even put you first. But then it comes from like the love of a mate or something. My father had already instilled in me that you come first. And no matter the what, if you have to separate yourself from someone because they're disturbing your peace, they're disturbing, what I'm saying, your sense of sanity. They're disturbing your safety. It is what it is. So all throughout my life, I've always still maintained that sense of a wall where no one can really get me to give so much of myself that it's going to harm me. And I'm thankful for that. That's my defense mechanism. That has kept me alive in a lot of situations. But it is what it is. And then it comes the love of my children, ones that I will literally die and kill for. That's a love that I had never known until I had them. So it's different love for me. It's different love for different types of relationships. But even at the end of the day, self love has to come first, even when it's coming to my children. Because if I don't make sure if I'm healthy, if I don't make sure I'm good, if I don't make sure I'm on the right track, I'm no good to them. So if I don't put me first, even in that situation, it's not going to be a good thing.
Absolutely.
So does anybody else want to add to that? I have a couple more questions.
As
Well,
so
okay, Nick.
as Black women, just growing up Black, I feel like a lot of things are brushed under the rug. swept under the rug. And more often than not, we are conditioned to take on all of this trauma from everywhere and just keep going. I think that also has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people don't actually learn to love themselves initially. You have, like I said, you have to learn to love yourself. It's always like, oh well, that's family. Okay, well, just because it's family, it doesn't necessarily mean that isn't toxic.
Healthy. Mhm.
So.
Mhm.
Well,
Joanne, you had
I'm
something you wanted to
gonna
add,
come
Joanne?
from a place where I didn't know what love was. It was never shown to me either. I'm coming from a place of foster care, so I had to go through steps in life. So it's also you have me having to break down. I guess the man upstairs had to break me down to learn to build myself back up. Because during the process of going through life, as Nick was saying, we're conditioned to just keep going, keep moving. Back in the days, what's wrong with you? You don't let people know what's going on in your world, in your life. You put a smile on your face and you keep going. But there's so many tears at that. And by the time you get to a level of life, it's almost like a computer going, there's no more. It's going to shut down. So I have to say, mine came later in life because I had to shut down. There was no more disappointments. There was no more people pleasing. There was no more abuse. There was no more just lack of loving me. So I had to find me, and learn from what you think is normal love, and as time goes by, you're thankful for your sisters. You have a lot of girlfriends. I'm thankful for them to show me what the template looks like. I have friends that have parents. They're showing me the template because I never had that. So I also think we have to be forgiving with the men, if I have to say, because they don't know what it looks like either, because they didn't get that either. They don't know sometimes what love is if they never saw the father, the uncle, some male figure loving on a woman. So sometimes we have to be patient with them as well. So just wanted to share that.
just to I know that Tamika was in the chat. She said she loved you guys' conversation and she felt like this conversation was worthy. And one of the things that Julia tried to do with the creation of these books and us doing basically an open book club virtually is to bring these conversations to the forefront and being able for all of us, men and women, to definitely dealing with our culture, to be able to have a safe zone, sort of say, and be able to express how we feel about things without judgment.
Yes.
One of the biggest things is that we do have that judgmental eye, and I think that Marsha, when she spoke about understanding where you're at and understanding where other people are at, that bothers a lot of people. A lot of us, we like, you ain't on my level, or I'm here and you there, and we tend to think that we have arrived, sort of say. So one of the questions in the chat was, and I know you young ladies might be chopping at the bit to answer this question when I ask it. Do you guys think that Black women love down?
I used to.
Yes.
I would definitely say, oh yes. If you've seen some of them, like, what were you thinking? Yes, because you want to fit in. You want to feel loved. You might have had that car that didn't have anything else of substance, but it was something to hold on, something tangible to say, hey, I got a man. So I would say I've in the past. Will I do that ever again? No. That's why I'm single.
When you say love down, what do you mean? Like
for the sake of like Joanne said, and I apologize for not answering the question exactly how
dealing with someone
for the sake of I got a man, y'all. I got a man.
spiritually. He's not
No,
mentally.
just dealing with anyone, just for the sake of saying that you have a man.
Yes.
And I can no, and I can honestly say that pretty much where I grew up, that we were raised, like I said, my dad, he I wasn't raised with him, it was my grandmother and my aunts and stuff, and my grandfather was in the house with my grandmother, but we were raised to be very, independent, and you know to look for someone suitable, and it's okay to be by yourself. Like I have aunts that are by themselves to this day, and no one looks. It's kind of like a badge of honor in our family, because we was like, yeah, because nobody can come in there and just do any old thing to her. It's all right if she by herself. She's
Right.
not falling for the okie doke. So
Yeah.
in our family, it's kind of been like, if you do, you do. You don't, you don't, and you'd actually be looked down upon if you were quote unquote loving down or whatever. The family would get into you.
Yeah.
At least
Quincy,
mine did.
I do want to share, like, listening to all of the stories from all of the ladies in the book. I interviewed about 19 women in total. And I would, to that question that our viewer posed, I would say yes. And I say partly the reason why that is because we're taught to do that. We're not always, based on the stories that have been shared with me, we're not always provided that opportunity to know that we should have expectations, right? And that we should value ourselves, and that it's more important to have ownership of yourself than to say that you're in a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship. And so it kind of comes out in all of the stories that yes, and the only reason why we do that is because we did not learn to love ourselves first. Because if we did, we would make different choices.
I'm gonna ask you ladies a question, and Julia will know exactly where I'm going with this question. Have all you ladies read or seen Waiting to Exhale?
Yes.
Of
Both.
course.
Of course, right? Do you remember the character that Wesley Snipes played?
Do I remember Wesley Snipes in that movie?
He was at the end and they slept in the bed. They didn't do anything. He was her comfort.
Remember the
They
letter
went
that
at
he
the
wrote?
bar.
Oh,
Remember the
when
letter that
she,
he wrote back to Marsha? You don't remember the letter?
For the letter.
I'm sorry, that was so long ago.
I
Right.
told
Okay. Now you have me watching the movie again.
Well, basically, in the letter, he explained to her that how he was her comfort in her eyes that night, but she was really his comfort,
Mhm.
and his wife was dying.
Oh, right.
I
Oh yeah.
Yes,
remember
yes,
now.
yes. Yes.
Mm.
And the reason why I bring this up is because me and Julia talk about the movie, and watching the movie in my early 20s and watching it in my 40s, you get a different perspective of the movie.
Mhm.
So the reason why I tied it is because a lot of people, myself included at one time, we tend to think that love got to be sexual, love got to be he taking me on trips, he buying me this, he buying me that, and vice versa. She's taking care of me, so forth. But the
Mhm.
comforting aspect of love, the being able to
Be
hear
vulnerable.
hear those struggles, hear
Mhm.
those insecurities. Do you think that a lot of times you guys, and I'm speaking about relationships now, that we're not comfortable dealing with somebody who has so many insecurities and we don't have them in that area? So we don't want to take on their stuff. We know they're good people and they may treat us well, but they may like Tomlin said, the dude had money issues. He had
Mhm.
insecurities with the money. But he might have been a good guy, and it's like, you got insecurities. I can't deal with you, bro.
Right.
Do you think that we have patience enough to deal with people with insecurities?
I think
I
Not at
go
this
ahead.
age.
It doesn't matter.
what I think and what I took away from when she said that is it can be three different men in the same situation that walk away from that same problem in different ways. But the one who is going to be like looking at you weird, yeah, that one might actually have a look. Not every man is how they like to say that with degrees and stuff say about men that they are, what's the word? They say that men are I'm so sorry. But like they look at it as women thinking they're dominant and they don't take the subservient role that they expect a woman to
Mhm.
if she does have more. And it is met with that bit of a clash because that's the man's insecurity. I think that a person's insecurity is only a flaw in a relationship when they bring it to you like anything else. They bring it to you to fix. And I think that oftentimes people go to relationships too often as half a person and expect that other person to bring the rest of it. That's why the whole bit of 50-50 is stupid because we're not 50% of a person. And if you go into something, and I was having a conversation with someone before and they were talking about how like men oftentimes run into relationships because their moms took care of them. So the comfort that they race into a relationship for sometimes is because they need a woman to take care of them. And in the same token, women, it goes way back thinking that if you're by yourself, you have to defend that point. You can't say that I'm waiting for something special. You got to be lonely or you got to be listening to the wrong persons. Everybody is not for everybody.
That's right.
And that's where we run into a problem.
Let me ask
And
a question.
sometimes I run into that on the flip side too, though.
Hmm.
I run into that on the flip side too. That there's some women that really think that marriage nowadays is oppressive, and they want to live their best life. They make their money. They don't need no man. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's a flip side on both sides, but it's a matter of perspective and what works for that individual. And I just want
Exactly.
to explain not necessarily a yin and yang, but it's in what I said. I had a triangle in my head. There was a triangle, and it's cut into three parts. So at the top of the triangle, I would have the things that I absolutely could not deal with in a relationship. That's no
Hmm.
beating, no cheating, no drug and alcohol abuse. Then it's the middle stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not as not as small as that, so it might be a little bit more. You're gonna think you might fuss that, but not a deal breaker. And then the biggest part of the triangle at the bottom is what you're willing to just let go because it's not a big deal at all. And if both people have that mindset of
Hmm.
that triangle in their head in the relationship, you would see that you would end up giving more so to your partner than taking away, as long as they're not impeding in your hard nose. Like that top of the triangle is your hard nose. Don't accept anything. Don't expect anybody to change. Don't look for anybody to change. If you see those hard nose in the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth date, don't waste your time because then you'll start wasting your time trying to change that person. Resentment will grow. Problems will start. He will end up cheating because you're not gassing him up anymore. You're now picking out the things that you don't like about him and all of that stuff like that. So you can prioritize and know you can set your standards and you can set your boundaries and not deal with nobody that, doesn't adhere. But it goes both ways.
It does, definitely.
I'm just saying that we got some mess with us too.
See
Hmm.
We
the
gonna require some forgiveness,
Oh,
and
yes.
we're gonna require somebody to understand us as well.
Yeah,
see
exactly.
the reason why I tend to ask certain questions and the motive of my questions is one of the things is tradition. Some of us have traditional values of what we think a woman's supposed to do. So a woman may meet a man and she's grew up in what we call a traditional home, and she may feel like what a woman is supposed to do is tradition. She may want to cook every night. She may want to iron her husband's clothes before he goes to work or whatever. And then she may meet a man who does not believe in those traditions or was coming up in those traditions. And this is where it clashes. And I think that a lot of times we we don't talk to each other. We don't communicate to understand. And something that Nick said about the stereotypes. Do you think that the stereotypes of quote unquote what how black women are supposed to feel are hurting them in relationships and how they truly love? I'm getting some feedback from somewhere. It's okay.
I think like sometimes some of the questions are more specific to an individual that like one person could 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 answer. Like my answer may not fit for the other young ladies on the panel and vice versa. So that would be like an individual. Oh, I lost him.
I'm getting some feedback from your microphone, Lee.
All right, hold on.
Someone else can answer the question while until Lee the microphone get there, Joanne.
Um, well, I believe we all have to come in as who we are. So I'm not Betty Crocker. I'm gonna let you know I'm not Betty Crocker. And
Well, Joanne, let's role play. Let's role play.
okay.
We on a date. We just getting to know each other. You tell me you're not Betty Crocker and you ain't gonna cook, and I'm gonna tell you, I graduated from culinary school, so
Wait a
that's
minute,
not a
wait a
problem.
minute, wait a minute, wait a
When we
minute.
get married, boo. Let's go.
What you say,
I
Marsha?
have a question. Why are you in my house if we just getting to know each other? Why do you know where I live?
Oh,
Ah,
I didn't say I was at the crib. I said we might be at the library having a conversation, Marsha.
sucker. Now I will say I've been,
Don't infer. That's you sniffing around. That's what you're doing. You sniffing around my foots, right? What are my coattail?
I'm
Nah.
now when I say I'm not Betty Crocker, I don't mind cooking, but I don't want it to be where I have to cook. Let it be a love language of I'm feeling good. Today's a day we're gonna throw down, and it should be shared. I believe in share. That's just me. Now I've been fortunate past relationships, they all cooked. So it was a win-win. But there were other major things that were missing. So I need that whole package. So I believe whatever fits you, there's no everybody has a different template to what's gonna work in their household. I don't know if you heard that, but everybody has a different template that works for their household. There are women that fixes the cars and the man doesn't. They probably will not openly say that because it's frowned upon besides in the society. But I do know women that know how to fix cars, and and the men never had that in their life to actually fix a car. They may be more artsy. They may have different talents.
No, the reason why I asked that is because you really do you have women that I've came across and from various conversations that they won't date a man if he's not handy. Now he may not be the guy. He may be the guy that'll call the guy who will fix it. That
There
may
you
be his
go.
thing. Do you think I'm gonna ask you guys a question and Lee spoke about it. I'm gonna unmute Lee in a minute. We having the little audio issues. Do you think sometimes you guys we set up these deal breakers, and they're realistic or unrealistic. How you guys feel about deal breakers when it comes to relationships?
So I feel like deal breakers should be discussed when you first start dating someone. When you're getting to know each other, you need to lay out your hard stops. I have a hard stop here, here, and here. Those are non-negotiables. These are my non-negotiables, and it just is what it is. Granted, with a relationship, there's always going to you're going to grow first and foremost, hopefully together, but you're going to grow. You're constantly evolving, but you should always be upfront with your deal breaker, because my thing is, I hate for somebody to be in a relationship and you start out and everything is cool, and then it's like, okay, well, this is how we've always done this, or this is what at a point where it's like, okay, well, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't like this, because my thing is, when did it become not okay? We this is the foundation that we laid, and now now you're switching up on me.
But I think for me, I've been with my husband for almost 22 years. We've only been married for 9 of those, but I think that if I look at when I met him when I was 20 years old and what I wanted and expected then versus what I want and expected after all of my life experience since is completely different, and it's completely different for him too. And I think that this might be the 4th or 5th time in our life cycle together that we've come to a point where it's almost a clash because the first of all, I think a lot of times people have a tendency to set out a representative that goes out and dates for the first 6 months, and that's the problem because you never know what it is you can organically find out about a person unless you let your guard down and really be open to them. But like I can say
I
that
need
when
Edwina, I need you to say that again.
what
That you never fully know who somebody is unless you let your guard down.
Right, exactly. You don't because you wouldn't be able to. I know that when we first met, there was a lot of things that I didn't say. I held my tongue because I'm like, it's rude for a woman to be like, all I want is, and you don't want to be, especially coming from where I'm coming from, you don't want to come to it being the neck snapping, demanding female. So you have to tread that part lightly, but on the same token, you also don't want to completely hide your identity of who you genuinely are to let that person see, because yeah, you might be able to cook, and then it might come down to a point where you're working more. Like I have a really close friend, she works a job where she does a lot of strenuous things, and she has to wear steel toe boots, and her husband is the one that's at home cooking and things like that. But there were times in their relationship when the roles were completely switched. There were times in a relationship where he couldn't be a helpmate at all, but a person who loves you genuinely is going to step up in a way that they never had to when it's called for. Those are character things that I don't think can necessarily go inside of the pyramid that a lot of people, or like the list that we have a tendency to think that we need, because those things might change and those things might not directly, there's certain things that's definitely deal breakers that you do not want. There's certain triggers, certain parts of your life that
Right.
it's something that Maya Angelou said that stuck with me. She said to keep a part of your life clean and pristine from everybody, because you never know if that's the only heaven that you get. And I've been sticking to that. Like there's part of you that any other person should not have access to. But above and beyond that, that's
Mm-hmm.
why when I said it, I'm like, I love organically. I'm gonna love you from where you are. And when I say when we had the conversation in the book and I was talking to Julia about it, I'm like, I can't say that I know of this pristine love that you can say you have to put all these conditions in, because most of the people that I love, if you looked at their jacket, from the people that I love that are family to myself to the person that I chose as my spouse, you wouldn't look at them as being um if you put them on that spectrum, they will automatically be thrown off of most people's lists. But if you take and you love them organically from where they are, you will see that, okay, yeah, that person he's not going to be the type to do anything housework wise, but he can go out there and he's going to make a way to do this. He has these ambitions to do these things. And if you could fall in line or help him to do this, it's like a triangle. You kind of have to be, you're this part, their part, you meet in the middle, and at the top is the goals and ambition that you both are working towards. But I don't know about I can't say that, only because of how long we've been together. It's hard to say that there's a certain way to look at another person completely for the outstretch of your entire relationship, because I have thoroughly hated this person for times when we clashed and couldn't get back into sorts because of those reasons, because we stopped looking like each other's list for a long time.
I'm gonna say, I just want to chime in real quick, Edwina, on something that you touched on. So I definitely understand growing in the relationship. I mean, my thing is, you're not doing well if you're not growing. Everybody should learn.
Yeah, exactly.
My thing is, there are certain non-negotiables that are just not negotiable. There are deal breakers, and that's what I was referencing.
Yeah.
The deal breakers. In all honesty, I'm gonna be a moment of transparency here. I'm divorced. I was with my ex-husband for 14 years. In all honesty, I feel like my deal breakers from day one didn't change from my deal breakers right here, right now. Things that I'm not going to.
And I noticed something.
My love, but let me just say that love is organic, but I can love you and not be with you too. How about that?
Exactly? That's exactly
yes,
right.
that's a
Absolutely.
good one. Yes,
I noticed
Absolutely.
something. I noticed
I
something.
agree.
And Nick, that was a very catchy phrase there. I can love you and not be with you.
I can love you from a distance.
One of the things, and I think that it is a stereotype, is when someone is divorced, how we may look at the person different, and that's not too particularly true, because I'm a firm believer that you don't have to be with someone, like Nick said, to love them, and we all grow. We're evolving as people, we're evolving as individuals, and evolving as a couple. I always, when me and Julia talk about relationships, I always say a relationship is two imperfect people living together trying to be perfect. So let's figure that out. But I really appreciate you ladies tonight. You guys, I can't say enough about you guys. I see why Julia was so overwhelmed with the conversation. And Lee, your microphone is working now, Lee. I can hear
Yes,
you.
I would listen. It's these stupid earpods. I'm trying to, stay up with the new high tech stuff, but it did something. So I just flung them to the side for now. So, but you guys can hear me now, and there's no feedback, right? Sorry about that.
So I have one final question, and I asked a couple questions. I asked Nick the question, and I might have asked Marsha. I forget. Do you the book, the interview, has it changed you with being able to express it, so to say? Because I know she went there with you guys.
I feel empowered because I said that I was going to write like my own autobiography, right? And I know I'm not a celebrity, but the things that I've gone through in my life, and just talking to Julia about certain things that I've went through in my life, and just seeing how interested she was, to want to take it a step further and put me in the book. And it's like, I might have a voice. And I said to her, all right, Julia, you make sure you call me when you're doing that book tour and you need the panel of young ladies and this, that, and the other. And it's so funny because we're talking, but yes, I know Julia for a long time, and I know that the people that she deal with have good things to say, and she inspires people, and she tends to bring out the best in them when she's around them because of her aura. And yeah, so that's it.
Anyone else?
I would definitely say that I believe that there's no errors in life. I also worked with Julia. I always looked from afar like, wow, she's got her stuff together. She really got her stuff together. But she's your boss. So you can always only look, but when you did have conversations, like Lee was saying, it was like,
You're
wow,
like, oh, she's human.
hey, this is
She is human.
this is and I would say that Facebook, you're just going through like, oh, she's on Facebook too. Okay. I also was thinking about writing my own book. I probably will still. She encouraged me as well. But it actually woke something up within myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It felt empowering, didn't it?
That I'm here. Because
That's right.
when she
That's
said
true.
she was doing something on social media, I said, oh no. Don't do that. You need help from behind. And that's something that I needed to break out of self-love, self-wealth. I'm worthy.
Yeah,
I'm
Self-wealth. I love that.
and we often stop speaking because we think no one wants to hear, but there are people that want to hear. I
Exactly.
am seasoned, and I would hope that someday I can help the younger ones actually not go through half the stuff that I went through.
right.
Love
Mhm.
myself. I have a granddaughter now. I want her to know that she is worthy.
That's right.
You know that you're worthy. You don't have to get it from someone else.
Exactly.
And I want to say thank you, Julia,
Yes.
with all my heart, without me getting emotional, because you know some things, but we got a lot more to cover. Yes.
Mhm.
Well,
And I
How
want
you
to
handle, and I'm sure all the women can say that, how you handle with care,
Yeah.
passion, with love, and trust, because you would trust us to, be here and
Mhm.
share our journeys and how we love and put it all in a book. And
Mhm.
actually, we're here doing it, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
I just want to close because I think my experience with Julia in this interview was much different than each person here. I needed to see a therapist afterwards because
Uh,
it was an aha moment.
Yeah.
I think the question she asked me was, did I love or experience love? And my answer was no.
mm. It
And
did kind of feel like a therapy session at some point.
Because
It
it's
did.
cracking away at things.
It
it's an
did.
aha moment because we think that there's love, but you were loving out of opportunity, you were loving out of desperation, you were loving out of abandonment,
Survival.
you were loving out of trying to belong. There were so many things that we thought was love,
Mhm.
but it was just a coping mechanism.
Mhm.
So
Thank you, Martha.
that was a really aha moment for me.
I
Mhm.
just want to give you guys some little insight about Julia allowing me to participate in her first book about how black men how to love, which is
Second book.
basically her second book. Um, the questions that most of the questions that she asked the gentlemen, she asked you guys with a little bit more questions, I assume. So me having the book, we had to do a lot of conversating behind the scenes. Um, I had to take Julia certain places that I'm quite sure she took you guys through, and vice versa. So I kind of know where she went with you guys. And it may look easy on the outside, being able to express these things and talk to someone, and they're interviewing for a book that one day it's going to be published, and the world is going to know these questions about you and your authentic view, and it's not easy for us. Some of us do have trauma, some of us don't. Some
Mhm.
of us been through some stuff, going through some stuff.
Mhm.
We'll be going through some stuff in the future, so it's kind of hard. So I really appreciate you young ladies for allowing yourselves to come on the show. Like Joanne said, being able to even express it online is like, oh, I want to go back 6 months and look at myself and be like, oh, I said that. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to tell him that, or I didn't want him to know that, or vice versa. I forgot a lot of stuff, which I'm quite sure you young ladies will be like, it's some stuff that I wanted to discuss. So I really appreciate you guys. I want you guys to stay on because I want to talk to you guys offline.
Okay.
But I appreciate all you guys in the chat.
Thank you.
Julia.
Yes.
You need to let everyone in the chat, as well as myself. When is the book going to drop? When is going to be your first show? When we go over the book and all that good stuff.
Okay. So I have plans for the book to drop on Saturday, October 9th, which is next Saturday. I know the ladies been waiting for a while for it to come out, but I'm shooting for that day. And then the show, I guess we could talk offline about that because I'm catching up with my own life. But I'm so grateful for this platform, Quinton, as always, and I'm so grateful to each of the beautiful ladies who are on this panel, and also some ladies that I've seen in the chat tonight who also appear in the book. So I'm just grateful for that, and I'm overwhelmed in this moment, actually. You know, I'm never at a loss for words, but...
Hey, listen, you guys in the chat. Julia
I want to say one last thing.
Go ahead. I got to throw my curveball, Julia.
What was your curveball, Quinton? I'm sorry.
Listen, she said the book will be out Saturday. Look for the show the following Thursday. She's talking like she got her own life. I'm going to be like, let's go. Let's go.
Quinton, as women, we are, and men too, but I'm speaking for women tonight. I'm speaking for Black women tonight on behalf of Black women, if I may be allowed. We endure a lot.
That we do.
But we also learn a lot. We grow a lot. We win a lot, but we don't get to share a lot. And these beautiful ladies on this panel and the other ladies some of who are in the chat tonight and also in the book, they are sharing. And one of the things that I truly believe in is the power of storytelling to heal and to help you find your identity. Mm-hmm. Today, we live in an age of the meme that tells you what you should think, how you should feel, what you should do. There's so many messages about, you know, who we should be looking for, what we should be looking for, and what we should do to get it. What each of these ladies tells you is or shows you in the book that all of our life experiences are different and varied, but they're valuable. They're valuable. And you don't have to do anything to be loved because you are here. You deserve to be loved. And that's what I want people who read the book be able to tap into. Thank you, ladies.
With that, like I said, ladies,
thank you, guys. It was great talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Don't run after the show. Don't run.
Okay.
I want to have a conversation with you guys. Like I said, everybody in the chat, thank you guys for joining us. I mean, I'm quite sure you guys are speakless as well as myself. Make sure you share the conversation that we had tonight. Because you never know, perhaps the one who didn't hear it will benefit better than the person that heard it live.
Right.
So make sure you share it, even critique it, you know, even add to the discussion. I'm an open book. My email has been under there. You could share with Julia. These young ladies, as of today, are open book as well. And they'll be able to share their experiences with you. And we definitely look forward to reading this book and going over the book as well. And everybody have a blessed and a safe night.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Please continue to join us here for conversations on hot topics, interviews with special guests, and our featured programs such as the Poetry Corner, where you can hear dope poets from around the country creating that poet cafe vibe, and Crown Rules, our virtual book club on love, intimacy, and healthy relationships. Let's talk. We are everywhere you want to be. Follow us on YouTube.